We've invited Elyoya and Nisqy from the Mad Lions and Carzzy and Labrov from Vitality to one of the greatest challenges the LEC has ever seen.
Their culinary skills will be put to the test as they are forced to prepare something that they've never done before.
Something we made earlier, they'll have to replicate it one for one without a recipe.
My cooking experience is probably zero.
I made pancakes once.
I'm pretty sad that I won't be using the microwave today. I think that would be my cheat code, but I guess we'll see what we can do.
They have 1 hour, ready, steady, cook!
If you want to know who won the cooking contest between Vitality and Mad Lions, you can check the full episode out on youtube.com/LEC. I'm Quickshot, joined by Vedius, and I will say you are taking this spaghetti confetti cooking competition to a whole new unexpected level.
Yeah, ideally we can take it even more extreme, where you have to
More
like,
extreme?
yeah, like building a house out of spaghetti. But we'll see. You know, it depends. You know how much.
I would
convince
love
Ellie
to
my
live
great ideas.
inside your brain for just a
You would.
day. Build a house out of spaghetti. Well, listen, we're about to jump into Game 3. Mad Lions taking on Team Vitality. And it's an interesting season, interesting point as we find ourselves in summer, starting the second round robin, looking at these teams, looking at the fact there are 4 seeds for Worlds. And this is now where I want to start seeing these teams shaping up, starting to develop, improve, look at those slightly more chaotic plays, and hopefully land them a little bit more consistently.
I will say that prior to last week, Vitality were yet to beat a top 5 team. Of course, that did change, but I still have my doubts around Vitality, or around the actual strength of the roster, their consistency as a team. But Mad is a team that I think, I said it last week, and I will say it again, I think that they could be in a position where they were actually first in our league. 2 of their losses were of their own volition, them being a little too over-aggressive. And obviously, this is something that you can criticize them for, but when you look at the success that they've actually had, and like that Elder Dragon was stolen by an Ezreal ultimate, you know what I mean? Of course, they deserve to lose those games. But
when
it's
you
one
make
of
the
those
mistake
things,
and it gets punished,
but it's
right?
one of those things where when the game is in your control for like 80% of it, like you really need to recognize that this Mad Lions team is clearly a very strong one. And I think Kadril said it, I think that they're in contention for the strongest in the league right now.
Well, we'll find out if they can pick up their second win against Vitality as we hitting the draft. What are we expecting as we hit picks and bans? We are playing on 12-13. I think as far as Mad Lions are concerned, having a fantastic run. I think Armut in particular, finding success on his champion pool. Not exactly the most exploratory, shall we say, but he's one of the players that has definitely stepped up this summer. And obviously the inclusion of Nisqy completely reformed the squad. He himself, statistically speaking, not the shiniest, but undoubtable impact on this roster.
Oh, for sure. I think that when we look more closely at the draft, Gangplank is a champion that has to be very high on the priority list for both sides. Alphari, his Gangplank was terrifying last week. Typically, it's a champion he doesn't get his hands on, but when he does, he looks terrifying on it. Armut as well. I would say that so far this split, as you rightly said, he's had a very solid performance. He's had his up and downs at times for sure, but overall I would give him a better grade than I would have last split. But I would say that so far the champions he's picked aren't really outside of his wheelhouse. He's still going for comfort. He's still demonstrating that like he has his champions that he's very good at, he can be relied upon. And I think right now, given that the meta is so Gnar focused, like this is Armut's best position to be in. Especially when you see all the memes about, what are you talking about? Armut can play Astronaut Gnar, and he can play Dino Gnar, and you know, like it's definitely a good meta for him.
And of course, don't forget that technically counts as 2 champions, Mini Gnar and Mega Gnar. Taking a look at the bans thus far, no surprises yet. Renata, GP, Zeri, Viego, and Yuumi banned away by Team Vitality. And I want to remind everyone, this was the opening game of summer. Mad Lions versus Vitality. Mad Lions won that pretty handily.
Yep.
Pretty one-sided from the get-go. Armut was actually running that on. in that particular matchup, and Lissandra will be the third and final ban here.
So this suggests to me that Mad Lions, I wouldn't be surprised if they first pick the Gnar. Vitality can then also look at blinding the Ahri, because when we look at Nisqy's most... Oh, just a blind pick Poppy, okay. That's pretty interesting. So for any of those that watched Ready Check earlier, both Jamada and Goldberg talked a lot about the presence of Poppy globally and how it is rising in popularity. It is considered the strongest jungler on the current patch, but there are answers into it, in particular AP junglers. For example, we saw Peanut earlier today, or was it today? I think it was today, bring out the Morgana as a response to it. So like, there are answers, there are things to shut it down. The question is Haru happy to play them?
And will Vitality make it work? As an aside, this is Elyoya's first Poppy of Summer. He has only played it 3 times in his career and won all 3 games. Just as a small side note, that Gnar that we talked so much about in regards to Armut has now been stolen away by Alphari and Team Vitality. They also locked themselves in Aphelios relatively early on in the draft.
That's a little surprising. I was not expecting an Aphelios to come out this early, especially when, as far as I can tell, Carzzy hasn't played it yet this split. The fact that they have such a high priority, I wonder if they know something that we don't. But seeing the response in the Gwen to the Gnar is nothing too uncharacteristic. Taliyah paired up with the Poppy as well. This is pretty interesting, mainly because usually when we see Taliyah being picked, it's like as an answer to dashes, high mobility.
Right.
And they're just going to pick Wukong.
So nothing exploratory, nothing AP thus far.
But that's kind of, it's weird, Quickshot. It's weird because obviously when you think of Poppy and Taliyah, both of these champions very good into things that dash, right?
Yep.
You've got the stuns from Taliyah's E, you've also got Poppy's steadfast presence. Both these things make dashing champions very annoying, which is why mages in particular can be considered quite good because you can do a lot of damage from a decent distance without relying on a dash. But then Wukong has a dash, Gnar has a dash, and then they picked the Wukong into this as well. So I'm a little skeptical, but Vitality seem to be going towards more of a team fight direction. My question is, how can they really round this out when Mad Lions is really limiting their ability to go for more mobility?
The thing is, it also makes me think just a little bit about Team Vitality and their players, draft-wise as well as prioritization. They have been unique, shall we say, in their approach this year. Taking a look at the bans just in Phase 2, Azir, Braum, Kalista, and Jinx taken away. And this next pick from Vitality will give us a little bit of a hint as to how they plan to close out their draft. But right now, there are tools in Mad Lions kits to defend, and it will be Perkz' Orianna.
So I was expecting a mage to come through from Perkz, and I think the Azir ban was really smart from Mad because they recognized kind of the same thing that we were talking about, which is that Vitality's unlikely to go for something like an Ahri, right? This Taliyah and Poppy both very much dissuade that. So they're going to be looking at a mage. You look at Perkz' most played big mage outside of Ahri, and it is that Azir. It also gives you a lot of range and also a lot of disengage tools for a pretty short range Poppy and a Gwen. So I like it a lot. I think the band's really good, and the response with an Orianna means that Perkz will be able to facilitate these team fights, which is definitely the direction that Vitality's gone for with their draft.
I mean, when you take a look at this, first Orianna as well as first Aphelios in Summer for Vitality, but definitely not the first for the respective players. Perkz' second most played champion all time is Orianna with a 60% win ratio. Carzzy, on the other hand, only has a 30% win ratio on that Aphelios. He'll be matched up into Unforgiven's Draven, which we've seen once this summer already. Team comp closed out with Nautilus. Some more disengage, some more tools to peel back if they need to. And Team Vitality will close out with the Tahm Kench. So when we zoom out, how do you feel Vitality have finished the draft?
Yeah, I like it more. I think the Tahm Kench is really good into what is effectively, well, I say single target damage, but when you kind of look across the board, sure, Gwen has a little bit of AoE, but Taliyah is really your only big area of effect damage ability, whereas you've got a lot of single target damage, and a lot of your CC is also single target damage, which means that the Tahm Kench can help provide a lot of peel for both the Aphelios and Orianna that may struggle in terms of their mobility against things like Nautilus and the Poppy. My big question marks is how will Vitality be able to reliably find engages? They do have the Aphelios ultimate to potentially set things up, but I think it's going to be really difficult for a Gnar and a Wukong to be able to actually get close to this composition. But I ultimately think that a lot of this game is going to come down to team fights. Obviously, we know Mad Lions is a very strong early game team. Typically, they play towards the top side of the map, and I expect them to do the same thing this time around. But I think this game will ultimately be decided in the execution of the team fights and who can play better.
Well, team fights, we'll have to find out who can find those engages with the engage options available. And I want to find out what Haru's going to do on this Wukong. It was a first pick Poppy for Elyoya and the Mad Lions, and the answer from Vitality was Wukong. Will it be able to work? Of course, both of these teams coming in middle of the table. 6-3 for Mad Lions, 5-4 for Vitality. Let's hit the rift. As we are in game, something that Vedius just mentioned a moment ago, Mad Lions as a team are one of the strongest early game in the entire league. However, that's at 14 minutes. Vedius, do you know how Vitality rank up at the 8-minute mark?
I am aware, but I feel like you're going to tell me anyway.
I am indeed. They have the highest goal difference at 8 minutes, the highest goal difference at 14 sitting at 4th, and then at 20 down to 5th. So this tells me the 0 to 8 minute mark, that lane kingdom, as it were, for Vitality is very, very strong, but it does fall off. It does peter out as they need to look around, moving the map and playing it.
I mean, it's true. I mean, the biggest thing to me to take away from the stats that we were trying to highlight there was very much that Vitality can build leads due to their reliable laners. In particular, Perkz on his Orianna. For any mid lane enthusiasts, you should really watch his CSing, because he will very quickly start taking Raptors to accelerate his gold leads in the other game. But they don't really build much off the back of that. They are a team that have kind of gone through many different iterations again this season, where there was a period in time where they were playing more towards their jungle, then they tried to play more towards their laners, and last week they played very much towards Alphari, and it was super successful for them. You know, they got a massive win. But the question is, what type of form are they going to bring today? And right now they've gone for more of a team fight approach. I don't expect there to be too much early game aggression. I think that one avenue of attack could be this top side of the map, and this is where the Mad Lions then comes into that part of the equation. They have been very formulaic in their approach to the early game, actually looking for a lot of early game dives, leveraging their mid-prio and allowing Elyoya to get easy invades in. Nisqy will often trade his health in order to gain prio in the lane. You can see him already trying to be super aggressive in this mid lane matchup, and here look, you can see with the push, what will they do with it is the question. They do have information on the red, which means they have a rough idea of where Haru started in the direction that he's going. Elyoya is going to be pathing up towards the top side of the map, but look at that, pushing top, pushing mid, and that bot wave is slowly starting to stack. So very typical Mad Lions fashion, they will have this early push, which then allows them to like work in tandem with Elyoya to secure early objectives.
Going to be hurting those Vitality 8-minute stats. Unforgiven and Kaiser going to force the flash from Labrov. Kaiser follows with his own, and Elyoya's in the jungle potentially for support, but that's dredge line after dredge line, finding Labrov, forcing him away from the lane. And as you're highlighting, Nisqy already moving, Vedius.
And look at this, he pushed in mid, gives them access into this bot side of the map, and like it's all just set up so beautiful. Mad Lions once again demonstrating how they use this early prio to play with Elyoya, and it's again, it's like, okay, we'll sacrifice our, like, look at how much mana Nisqy has right now. He's only level 3, but he doesn't care, because he recognizes what's more important is being able to get this mid lane push. And what do? They hand the blue over to Nisqy. All that mana that he's just lost, he's now going to get invested back into him. This is going to be so much better for him in terms of the mid lane matchup. And what can Vitality do about it? I mean, I will admit that flash from Kaiser, a little troll.
Oh, yes.
Was a little troll.
Optimistic.
But I think the reason why he did it was because he thought Unforgiven would flash with him. And so then he can take tower aggro so that Unforgiven can then go underneath and then they can like get that kill. But the kill wasn't really Unforgiven's plan. He was like, we hard all in and then we can set up for the invade on the bot side. And now Elyoya makes his way top and look, in a position to answer Haru, but also threaten a dive onto Alphari.
Alphari's trying to trim out that wave and the heroic charge will not find a stun. Or at least pushed away from the objectives. Stepping forward, dredge line. This time catches onto Carzzy. He's down below 100. First blood secured for Unforgiven. No flash available, but Labrov will be able to dive to safety. Now Armut taking the blows. The turn back around. Alphari will drop 2 kills to Mad Lions and 2,000 gold in the lead.
Oh, it's just a beautiful early game from Mad, and now you can understand a little bit more about what I was saying is why I rate this team so highly, right? The early game execution is just a joy to watch. The way in which they leverage their prio, but let's see if Vitality can answer back.
Well, Haru's waiting in the bushes for now. Will go forward and puts that crushing blow onto Elyoya. Level 5 for Perkz, and ultimately, not a lot comes from that. Not a huge amount of damage to follow up, no ultimates. Also, Haru was only level 3 to the level 4 of Elyoya, so just a great start here for Mad. And I think one of the things we consistently see from Nisqy, you were talking so much about it, Vedius, is just how he plays with his team. I think when it comes to roaming and supporting and pushing the advantage, Nisqy is showing a masterclass this summer.
I mean, the fans might be sick of it because all we seem to talk about is Nisqy every single week, but it's hard not to, mainly because of his story, right? Last split, he wasn't in the LEC. Last year, he was on Fnatic. He made it to a finals. He did end up falling short, but like, he's a player that I think, to the community's perspective, seems to be someone that he's a very good mid laner, but he should never really be the best in the league. He should be like that benchmark that other mid laners should like overcome. But he's never that guy that actually sits at #1. And I think when I spoke to him on Euphoria, he was like, yeah, it's kind of annoying. Like, I think I'm really good. I think I should be considered the best, and I want to be the best. And I think that his mechanical prowess is not what's making him stand out this split. It's just the way in which, remember, this team, Mad Lions, 4 out of the 5 players on this roster finished 7th last split. 1 player comes in, and now they're in contention for first place.
Do you think it's fair to say that stylistically, Nisqy's not necessarily the flashiest, but the way he elevates and integrates into this Mad Lions roster allows the likes of Elyoya and Forgiven Armut to sort of carry. It's almost like he's a bit more of a supportive player in some ways, and it helps a lot when players like Kaiser just consistently find their targets. But Mad Lions in a 3v4, how do Vitality start the fight? Tongue Lash goes wide, and it's something that's going to be challenging for this Vitality roster, even if they catch people a little bit out of position. It's so hard for them to stick to players, and Perkz is going to be forced to flash away. So much threat on that middle lane.
So there was a lot of interesting things there, but to very quickly answer your question earlier, I think that Nisqy is just a very well-rounded player. He can be a carry, he can be a supporter, he can take that supportive role, but to kind of button it all up, he's great. And he's been a great addition to the Mad Lions so far this split. Oh, I'm not taking a bit of an unfavorable trade there. But to go back to that little mid interaction that we saw, the reason why it was super cool was because Perkz wanted to push and go back. He invested his ultimate too. The goal was not to kill Nisqy, it was actually just to help clear out the wave, put a bit of damage down, and then he could go for a quicker reset. And he could do this because his team was in the bot river. But then his team left before he cleared out the wave, allowing both Elyoya and Kaiser to then contest the mid wave, forcing Perkz to back off, flash away, and then he still end up stuck in lane. And now look at the consequences of all of this. Mad now leverage that fact to actually get mid prio. Nisqy actually gets the push, then they use it to steal away the red buff, and now Mad find themselves off another advantage. And it's these small things, their ability to recognize small windows and play around the push that they have in lanes, that's just that's a joy to watch.
But also very well coordinated. I mean, that bottom lane push to allow Elyoya and Nisqy to steal the first blue buff, or at least the second spawn, so to speak. And this time round, in that mid lane, Elyoya and Nisqy just coordinating and working well. It's allowing the team to still maintain that 2,000 gold lead. Haru is going to shadow in this top lane, has not found a way to influence just yet.
Can you press the XP button for me, Quickshot?
Can indeed.
Yes, so that's the one. I was curious as to, so you can see Haru's XP in particular and contrast that to Elyoya. They're obviously quite close, suggesting that Haru is relatively close to that level 6 mark, but this is kind of the results of all of that early aggression, where Elyoya has been benefiting from stealing away a lot of these camps, and you can see it on the CS score at the bottom. There's a 1k gold advantage for Elyoya, and like it's all just mounting into what is a 2k gold lead that Mad have firm control over this early game.
They do, and despite the tiny advantage for Perkz in that middle lane, it is kind of like countered by how Mad Lions have been able to control the flow of the jungle, and the fact that Elyoya has been able to steal multiple buffs. You saw the Herald there secured by Elyoya, and this bottom lane is still maintaining their lead. Vamp Scepter, as well as that VF sword and 2 long swords into a quiver. So if Carzzy or Labrov get caught out Quiet dredge line, or potentially this roam here. If you look at the minimap, Nisqy threatening or at least moving down. I think Unforgiven will be able to melt through those bot laners of Vitality very, very easily. They will back away as soon as that wave is thinned out. And now I'm going to turn the attention to Vitality. How do they try to claw this deficit back? Because they've got their ultimates, they've got some space to work with.
They get cheeky, Trevor. Look at this. Sitting in the bush. The fog of war right now. Unforgiven. How suspicious is he?
White red there for Carzzy. Flash and cleanse available for Unforgiven. Kaiser's up in that middle lane. Unforgiven is about to get knocked up. He does indeed. Moonlight Vigil comes forward, and there's the flash. Unforgiven turning so much damage. He gets the kill at 500 gold. Labrov will close it out, but in a 2v1 and getting hit by everything, he finds the kill.
That is a Draven main right there. Unforgiven stares into the face of death and says, not today, baby. If I'm going down, you're coming down with me.
I mean, that is incredible. Through the exhaust as well. Managed to get the whirling death out just as he was chucked up in the air. Will still maintain that advantage and that lead. Vitality, it's such a difficult position. And remember, of course, that Aphelios was locked pretty early in the draft, so it allowed Mad Lions to think a little bit, plan some of their options, and Kaiser and Unforgiving doing a great job to push that lead further.
I just hope we get an opportunity to see the replay of that, because the cleanse in particular from Unforgiven was just so good to remove that exhaust so we could get as much damage out as possible. Once again, Haru being spotted on this vision in the lane. He tried to make a gank happen bot, didn't work out. He's trying to now make a gank happen top, but another ward will spot him out. And look at what MAD do with this information. Immediately, the pings are coming down towards the bot side of the map. Carzzy has to make a beeline to get away, but Carzzy has his eyes set.
Oh, there's the wall. Weaver's Wall coming out. Will cut off Carzzy from escape routes. He's got some damage down thanks to that blue-purple, but there's just too much to deal with. An easy kill, the 4th of the game for Mad Lions, the 1st for Nisqy. And it just is complete control, fairly reminiscent of the opening game of Summer here. Mad Lions being able to get an early lead. They drop the Herald down bottom. This will unlock the tower as well. And they're just going to extend that lead even further, Vedi.
It's just it's another great demonstration of Mad's ability to read the map and respond accordingly. Like, the second that Haru gets spotted top, the call is, okay, we dive bot. Even if we don't get a kill, we're using our Herald, we're taking that tower, we're converting it into a Drake. Perkz, though.
Alright, Shockwave will force him back. Something he'll use there by Nisqy. Flash forward from Perkz. The last command. Attack will secure it. Heroic charge pushes Perkz back into the Mad Lions jungle, and that is the boot away to prevent any follow-up. 1 for 1.
Elyoya hits Labrov with the yeet and sends him back to base. That was beautiful, because he was so close to getting Perkz out to safety there. But props to Perkz, he can kind of feel the game slipping away very quickly, and this is something that we've talked a lot about when it comes to Perkz as a player. Yes, sometimes his plays look in, sometimes they look bad, but sometimes you have to be the one to make something happen, otherwise nothing ever will, and getting a solo kill onto Nisqy is a great way to start.
I mean, he's going to need to pull a magic rabbit out of the hat. If you take a look at the players this summer in terms of their stats, kill participation very high for Nisqy because of his play, as we talked about. Look at damage per minute, CSD and gold difference. Stark differences between the two. As I'm talking about the mid laners, there's an engage up top. Haru's not going to be able to find anything just yet. Whirling Death finds the bounce once and twice. Here comes Elyoya. He's got the flash available to him. Haru's looking for that crushing blow, and he gets crushed himself. Unforgiven with another. The stun into the wall. Labrov is taken out, and Alphari forced to flash for his life. While that is going on, Perkz is pushing the mid lane, but Mad Lions set their sights on that top tower.
And you can see desperation starting to come through from Vitality. They feel like they need to make something happen, so they attack Unforgiven. He has no flash, he has no cleanse. The idea behind it is good, but he does what Draven does best, and he just fights them through the gank.
I mean, take a look at that. Already got the Eclipse secured, plus another BF sword at 13.5 minutes. Vitality got some damage onto Unforgiven, but he just walks out of it and turns around to secure yet another kill. 3-1-1, 6,000 gold up. And this has just been the Mad Lions show, as now Carzzy will get jumped on by Armut. The Moonlight Vigil does so much damage, the scissors, the snip, 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 and Armut gets himself a solo kill.
Oh my word, Carzzy finds himself at 0 and 4, getting
2v2 killed in lane, getting outplayed by Unforgiven in a 1v2, then getting collapsed on in the bot lane by MAD to now find himself dying once again in the 1v1. MAD leveraged their advantage in the bot side of the map, and they have continued to accelerate this early game.
I mean, MAD Lions are just outplaying Vitality pretty much across the map in nearly every role. I do have to ask the question, though. For this composition from Vitality, could there have been anything different? Would it have really mattered because of how MAD are playing the map?
If the game was more neutral in the early game, then sure, there was a very clear win condition for Vitality, which was their team fighting. You have a very traditional wombo combo with Orianna, Aphelios, and Wukong, but on paper, this is MAD Lions' game to lose, right? There should be no way in which they can. There should be no way that they can lose this game. Of course, the one thing that I did say about MAD Lions earlier is that of their losses, they've had 3 so far this split, as you can see at the top of your screen. One of them was to Rogue, one of them was to Misfits, and one of them was to XL. Now, the game against XL, they got smashed. They just lost, right? So XL was the better team in that series. Against Rogue and against Misfits, they found themselves with massive leads.
Yep, like 7,000 gold at 50.
Like 7,000 gold,
Kind of reminiscent
kind
of
of.
this.
And then what they did was that they would overforce a play rather than making the correct choice. And I will say, and like having spoken to many members of the MAD Lions team now, that sometimes they just get a little too lost in it. You know, when you have a gold lead like this and when everything is just going super smoothly, it's very easy to get into the mindset of we can't lose this game, so we can kind of do whatever we want. But you then have to remember that your opposition, they're no slouches themselves, they are professional players, and any small window that becomes available, they will try to take advantage of it. So clean closeout is now kind of what we're keeping our eyes on for the MAD Lions. We'll see if they can clean this, close this one out cleanly from this point, because the game feels like it's already over, given the lead that MAD Lions have been able to build.
I mean, the Collector's been picked up by Unforgiven at 16 minutes here, going into not even completed boots for Carzzy, as well as that Gale Force. The second Herald was just secured. I think you pointed out like 100% what we want to see from MAD Lions is this next 5 to 10 minutes of play. How do they press this advantage? Do they dilly-dally? Do they get caught in any shenanigans? Because that is what has cost them a few games, but I do not feel like that will be the case. Labrov finds the dredge line, the knock up onto Carzzy as well. The sidestep forced a flash, and the Whirling Death closes it out. That's a double, as well as the secondary charge, and another dredge line. Perkz is shut down in the middle lane. Now Nisqy's forcing Haru away. MAD Lions, they think about pressuring this turret, and they do. The Rift Herald will secure another 5 towers for the MAD Lions, and even getting the charge onto the inhibitor. Berlin is loving this siege.
It is an absolute slaughter, isn't it, Quickshot? It's just...
It's a shellacking.
It is unbelievable how dominant MAD Lions are in this game. And watch how Kaiser plays this, right? So he hooks onto Labrov, ults onto Carzzy, and then Elyoya uses his E onto the Tahm Kench to make sure they can't protect the AD carry. Then they turn their attention to Carzzy. Auto, ult, gets the execute off, and then Perkz thinks, oh, I have my ultimate, I can wave clear this. Another hook lands, flash into slam from Elyoya. That mid-jungle synergy was on point in that whole setup.
I mean, Kaiser, I don't feel like he's missed a hook. 007 this game, out of his team's 11 kills. He's roamed around the map, he's consistently found the targets, and MAD Lions 10,000 gold. Frankly, I'm disappointed in Vitality, but I am incredibly impressed with how MAD Lions consistently, again, find a strong early game, find an advantage, and they're going to be very, very scary over the next few weeks.
And I will say that, obviously, for MAD, a lot of the conversation for them has been very much about their mid-jungle, but Unforgiven has truly had an incredible split so far. He has 5 games of Zeri, so I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's playing Zeri, you know, and that's kind of overshadowed almost his performance, but individually and mechanically specifically, I'm using a lot of long words now, he's played very good with his hands. And I think this game has been a great example for him as an individual, how well he's actually been playing this split. And huge props to him, because while MAD is doing a lot of very smart things, Unforgiven's doing a lot of very good hands things, you know?
Of course, he had to replace Carzzy in that role. He needed to step up. I mean, this is his second Draven of Summer. You talked about that, Zeri. It's technically his 7th Draven all time. And there's just something about kind of a young bot lane, a young ADC playing a champion like Draven and just popping off and smashing people, that gives you a lot of confidence in their ability to play pretty much anything. We're 19 minutes into this game, 5 towers secured, Mad Lions completely smothering Vitality's jungle. And they're going to use that Weaver's Wall to block off any
There's the brain,
defense.
there's the hands, it all just comes together, Quickshot. Right now, this game for Mad Lions is very much about protect the president, right? Unforgiven is the president, and he's got his bodyguards everywhere around him. He does so much damage, and as long as he's not interrupted with crowd control or any real damage threats, he will be perfectly safe. And so the whole game now is basically move him around the map, use him to take down objective after objective, and then make sure that there are no egregious errors anywhere else.
I want to quickly take a look at the total gold brought to you by Santander, and take a look at Unforgiven right now. Vedi, could I ask you to just highlight the items on that mini-map, or on the bottom, when you're comparing what Unforgiven's working with, 3 completed and a BF sword, Carzzy has got thrift store shopping. I mean, it's just been a very tough day at the office, and Mad Lions have got the president that they're protecting well, and they've got the comp to do it. I mean, the Taliyah, the Nautilus, the Poppy, they've got the comp to keep him alive.
Yes, they do. It's it's quite a difference.
It is
between the two AD carries.
I'm gonna bring up something that Machine was talking about in the interview with Finn, where when we were talking backstage and looking at playoffs, looking at the fact that Europe has got 4 seeds at Worlds, we're in a very intriguing position right now, where it does feel like there's some possibility for surprises, some possibility for upsets. And if Mad Lions continued this form and this level of play, their name is absolutely going to be in the conversation for a deep playoffs run, and potentially one of those playoffs, Worlds berths.
For sure. I think right now, the race for Worlds is obviously very contentious, and it's great to hear from all the pros how they all talk about motivation, because sometimes when you feel like and you recognize you're not in that top 3 conversation, it can be hard when a lot of your career is about making it to the World Championship to see how you can test yourself against other international competition. But when there's one more opportunity, one more spot, things get a lot more spicy. Now, another engage.
What? How does he do it? Kaiser finds another hook. Labrov is already down. The knockup connects onto Carzzy, and he's taken out. Nisqy rides the Weaver's Wall, but not too far. And with 2 quick kills, Mad Lions peel back for the Baron. They pulled Vitality, they played the bait, they set up all the vision, and they punish exquisitely.
Yeah, Mads, they're taking their time. They're not hot-headed like they've shown in the past. They're being patient. Kaiser does, in fact, miss a hook, but I don't think it's going to matter as the Baron's likely to fall.
Baron will be secured by Elyoya, so will a kill onto Haru. Alphari first forced to flash away. And I think for Mad Lions, I was literally just about to say, Vedius, what do you think of Mad Lions' play the last few minutes? A resounding exceptional. They got the towers, they pushed the vision, they got a clean Baron. I mean, Vitality, they were pushed into a position where they had to make a move and got punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, like, let's just have a look back at this fight first. So Kaiser, his goal is actually Labrov here. He hooks him up because it prevents him from being able to peel onto Carzzy. Then he does the same combo that he did earlier. Yeah. Hook onto Labrov, ult onto Carzzy. Then there are 2 targets at risk. Then there's no way for him to use his Gale Force. His flash is only just coming up now, which meant that Carzzy had no way to get to safety. But Kaiser doing really well to mitigate the Tahm Kench's ability to actually provide peel. And that means that every time Mad Lions just shut Vitality down in the fight.
Labrov ends up being a taxi to Carzzy for the depth charge for Kaiser multiple times in a row. The gold lead, by the way, 14,000 in favor of the Mad Lions, and they're pushing multiple lanes. Teleport is available here for Armut, and Kaiser will, I think, Hex Flash over the wall.
No,
is that real Flash?
That was Flash. So I wonder if that was intentional or if that was, I thought I had Hex Flash, so I flashed. But now he's got Hex Flash, that's for sure.
Oh, he does indeed, and I don't think it's even going to be necessary. Look at the mini-map here. All 3 lanes being pressured. Haru stepping forward to catch these minions. The exposed inhibitor. Armut now making his way towards the rest of the Mad Lions. And it would require a monumental misplay for Mad Lions to lose a team fight. They have such a gigantic statistical and gold advantage. They're going to be locked off. The Weaver's wall comes out. Elyoya finds the stun, but there's a gobble from Labrov. Haru's running for his life and can't use the Cyclone. Kaiser goes golden. The Whirling Death catches two. That's another onto Perkz. A rampage for Unforgiven. 2 more quick kills as Elyoya looks for the 4th. And the 5th, that's looking for the ace until Labrov. The inhibitor is popped. Vitality are destroyed, they are dumpstered, and they are dominated by the Mad Lions. Mad turn to an uncontested Nexus, a 2-0 over Vitality in Summer, and send a statement for the playoffs.
Elyoya will maintain his 100% win rate on Poppy. Mad Lions will continue to dominate in the early game. And what an incredible game from Unforgiven. Just all across the board, a fantastic game from Mad. And as you rightly said, a lot of people are going to be looking at them a lot closer after a game like that.
I mean, 5-5 for Vitality. They are now tied in the standings with Misfits, but I think crucially that 0-2 against Mad Lions. If by some miracle those standings become very close towards the end of Summer, that could be important. But I think Mad, you have to start considering, start looking at their Summer thus far. Them and Rogue may be 2 of the most consistent, highest performing teams.
I mean, for sure. The Mad versus Rogue matchup, whenever that is definitely going to be an exciting one. But I think just more questions continue to rise for Vitality. One of the consistencies that this team is supposed to have is they're pretty reliable early laning. But I've seen a few times now this Vitality bot lane just straight up dying in the 2 versus 2. Like the fact that they are already crumbling this early on. The obviously right now we see a very clear gap between Mad and Vitality.
Yes.
The question is how big is that gap between Vitality and the rest of the team?
Especially because throughout the rest of Summer, Vitality have had pretty impressive laning phases. I do think that Alphari and Perkz are a large part of the reason why, but that was a little bit uncharacteristic of terms. Vitality very rarely getting blown out that early on. So quick update, your key player of the game nominees at LEC on Twitter: Elyoya, Unforgiven, and Kaiser. That's who you can vote for. I want to answer Vedi's question. Rogue versus the Mad Lions is in week 7.
Okay.
So it's pretty close.
It's
2 weeks
likely
to go.
to be like a fight for first, potentially, if they can both maintain the level of performance that they've demonstrated recently. But obviously, we are moving into the second half of the split, and things are only going to continue to get more tense as we get closer and closer to playoffs.
I mean, they absolutely will. I'd like for some more, let's say, competitive games throughout the rest of the day. Before that, though, the Warner Song of the Week is David Fuentes. Don't Let Our Love Die. Make sure to check it out on the official LEC Spotify playlist while we wait for our next game, Astralis versus G2.